Imagine if India and France suddenly declared war on each other, not with weapons, but by racing to become the world's next AI superpower. That's basically what's happening right now, and it's creating a geopolitical chess game that could reshape where artificial intelligence gets built, trained, and deployed for the next decade. Two unlikely rivals, French President Emmanuel Macron and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, are launching personal charm offensives targeting Silicon Valley's biggest tech CEOs. Each is trying to convince companies like Nvidia, Meta, and OpenAI that their country is the superior place to build the next generation of AI infrastructure. Here's what's wild. Just 5 years ago, neither France nor India would have been in this conversation. The AI infrastructure game was dominated by the United States and China. But now, the costs of building and training massive AI models have become so astronomical that countries are racing to become alternatives. Whoever wins this race doesn't just get tech jobs, they get geopolitical influence and economic power that'll last for decades. What's happening behind the scenes at elite tech conferences right now is about to reshape the entire global AI landscape. But here's what most coverage gets wrong about why this move matters so much. Let's rewind. Emmanuel Macron has been positioning France as a technology hub for years, but AI infrastructure is a different beast entirely. Building and maintaining large language models requires enormous data centers, cutting-edge chips from companies like Nvidia, and access to technical talent. Modi, meanwhile, has been championing India as a tech powerhouse. The country already dominates software outsourcing and has millions of skilled engineers. But here's why this moment is different. Large AI models now cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build and billions to train. Companies like OpenAI and Meta need partners with serious government backing, regulatory stability, and cheap land or subsidies for massive server farms. A decade ago, these companies would have just built in California. But California's electricity prices, regulations, and real estate costs have made it one of the world's most expensive places to run data centers. That opened the door. Countries around the world suddenly realized they could compete for this infrastructure by offering what the United States can't: tax incentives, government funding, cheaper land, and streamlined regulations. France and India both sensed the opportunity and decided to make their move. And here's the twist nobody expected about how they're actually doing it. So what exactly are Macron and Modi offering? Macron's pitch centers on Europe. France has committed billions in subsidies to build AI infrastructure. He's touting regulatory stability, ties to the European Union's trillion-plus-dollar economy, and a friendly environment for large tech investments. France also has an advantage in intellectual property protection and stable government policy. Modi's approach is different. India is positioning itself as the cheaper alternative, lower labor costs, a massive tech workforce, and the Indian government is offering subsidies and fast-track approvals for data center construction. India also has a strategic advantage. It's geographically positioned between the developed world and Asia, making it a natural hub for companies serving multiple regions. Both countries are using their leaders personally. Macron and Modi have been having direct conversations with Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang and other major tech leaders, essentially lobbying them the way governments lobby for manufacturing or auto plants. This is genuinely new. You don't typically see national leaders doing personal sales pitches for data center deals, but the stakes are so high that both countries have decided it's worth their time. This is where it gets complicated. Neither side is backing down. Let's talk specifics. According to reports, Nvidia and other major AI firms are actively evaluating both countries. France is in advanced talks with several companies about hosting large AI infrastructure projects. India has already seen some movement. Companies are exploring partnerships with Indian tech firms for AI training and development. The real pressure is on major AI companies to make a choice soon. If Meta decides to host its next major data center expansion in France or India rather than the United States, that's hundreds of millions of dollars flowing out of America, thousands of skilled jobs created abroad, and crucial AI training happening under French or Indian regulatory oversight. That matters enormously because data center locations affect where AI research happens, which influences what values and perspectives get baked into the models. The companies in the running are treating this like a competitive bid. France might offer better government support and European market access. India might offer lower costs and a younger technical workforce. Some companies are considering a hybrid approach, maybe some infrastructure in Europe and some in India, diversifying their geographic footprint to reduce dependence on any single country's regulations or policies. And here's where it gets interesting. This diversification could reshape the entire power structure of the AI industry. How does this compare to what other countries are doing? The United States has largely sat back, confident in its existing dominance. China is simultaneously building its own AI infrastructure and competing aggressively, but geopolitical tensions make Chinese partnerships risky for Western companies. The European Union as a whole is fragmented. Different countries have different regulations and incentives. That's why Macron is making France the European point of entry. The United Kingdom also wants a slice of this pie, as does Singapore in Asia. But Macron and Modi have genuine advantages. France sits at the crossroads of the European economy and has serious government funding. India has cost advantages and a huge talent pool. They're also willing to move fast. In typical fashion, American regulation moves glacially while European bureaucracy takes its time. Both Macron and Modi have shown they can fast-track approvals for major infrastructure. That's genuinely appealing to companies on tight timelines. What makes this a real competition is that major AI companies genuinely do have a choice now. 10 years ago they didn't. Today, they can credibly consider France or India as alternatives to California. And this is where things get surprising. The competitive advantages these countries have are stronger than most people realize. Let's think through what happens if France or India wins these deals. First, the decentralization of AI development. Right now, most cutting-edge AI research is concentrated in a handful of American companies and institutions. If significant AI training changes to France or India, that's a fundamental change in where the world's most advanced models get built. Second, geopolitical power. Whoever hosts AI infrastructure gains leverage over those companies. They can influence what gets trained, what values are embedded, what gets regulated. A country hosting Nvidia servers has outsized influence on global AI development. Third, economic ripple effects. Building a massive data center creates construction jobs, ongoing employment, electricity demand, and supply chain effects. India especially could see serious economic benefit from becoming an AI infrastructure hub. Fourth, the acceleration of a multipolar AI world. For years, the narrative was that America and China would dominate AI. A France or India move changes that story fundamentally. It signals that the AI era isn't locked into two superpowers. Other countries can compete if they are willing to invest. Here's the thing that changes everything. Whoever hosts these data centers gets to shape how AI itself develops for the next generation. So how do we know if this is actually working? Here are the signals to watch. First, major investment announcements. If Nvidia, Meta, or OpenAI announce significant infrastructure projects in France or India over the next 12 months, that's confirmation that this charm offensive is paying dividends. Second, job announcements. Companies will start recruiting engineers and data center specialists in those countries. If you see major tech hiring accelerate in India or France specifically for AI roles, that's a strong signal. Third, regulatory changes. Both countries might introduce new laws or fast-track procedures specifically to attract AI companies. Watch for these announcements. Fourth, stock market reactions. If markets believe AI infrastructure is shifting, tech company stocks tied to American infrastructure will underperform. Fifth, track the money. Government subsidies and funding announcements are public records. Track whether France and India are actually putting the billions behind their pitches. Sixth, CEO travel. Major Silicon Valley CEOs are creatures of habit. They tend to spend time where deals are happening. Monitor which countries they are visiting and how often. The part most people overlook entirely is that successful infrastructure plays always leave public signals. You just have to know where to look. Here's what this all means. The story of AI development is shifting from which company wins to which country becomes the infrastructure hub. That's a bigger deal than most people realize. France and India making credible moves changes the entire strategic landscape. For viewers, This is worth caring about for three reasons. 1. If you work in tech or are considering a tech career, infrastructure changes often precede job market changes. Companies follow data centers. 2. If you're interested in AI policy or ethics, the location of AI infrastructure matters enormously for governance. AI developed in democracies follows different rules than AI in authoritarian systems. 3. This is a preview of how the AI era will actually work. It's not one winner takes all. It's competing visions, competing countries, competing regulatory approaches. The next 5 years will tell us whether France and India's charm offensive actually changes where the world builds its AI. That might be the most important infrastructure decision of the 2020s. The race is on. Follow for daily AI news.